Marc Marquez crashed in the sprint at COTA, took Fabio di Giannantonio with him, both riders out before the first lap was complete, and 60 seconds later, standing in the gravel at the corner where it happened, he said something that almost nobody in this sport ever says. Same corner, same day, two completely different kinds of damage, and what happened in between, and what he said in those 60 seconds, tells you everything about the kind of champion he is, and everything about the kind of weekend this has become. This is not a story about one crash. It is a story about what happens when everything goes wrong at the same circuit in the same 24 hours. And 2 of the 4 things that went wrong were his own fault. He did not wait to be asked. He explained it the moment the microphones arrived. Obviously, today I made a big mistake, because on turn 12, I didn't calculate well the slipstream of the 3 bikes ahead. Then when I started to brake, in one moment I slid the rear, but then I started to lock the front, and I tried to find a way to escape from that situation. But going to the outside was impossible. Then I tried to jump in and turn to the outside of the track, but when I was at the apex, there is that small change of banking. I lost the front, and unfortunately another rider crashed with me. I don't know the penalty, but I need to have some penalty because the rules are like this. Today I did a mistake and I destroyed the sprint race of another rider, so I agree with whatever penalty they give to me. Full accountability, no deflection, no reference to the banking, the track conditions, or the riders who were in his way. The reigning world champion standing in the gravel at turn 12 telling the paddock he was wrong, before the stewards had even opened an investigation. That is not something most riders do. That is not something most people do. You caused the crash. You say so. You accept whatever comes. You move on. It is the same. Quality that makes him impossible to dislike, even when he is impossible to defend. And it is the same quality that will define how the paddock remembers this weekend. Not the crash, but the 60 seconds after it. But here is where the story becomes more than a confession. Di Giannantonio had just taken his 2nd consecutive pole position. He had led the early laps. He was the fastest qualifier on the weekend, a rider in form, on a machine that was working, on a circuit where he had every right to fight for the result. He gave Márquez room at turn 12. He straightened his line. He opened the door as wide as any rider could be expected to open it. It was not enough. He went down with Márquez. He rejoined at the back, attempted to continue, and retired 2 laps later. Márquez confirmed the atmosphere in the aftermath. Yeah, he's angry. I understand him, and I can just apologise. A rider who had done everything right on his strongest weekend of the season taken out by the braking error of the championship favourite. That is not a small thing. And the stewards agreed. Long lap penalty for Sunday's Grand Prix. This is the 2nd penalty in 3 rounds. At Thailand, Márquez was penalised after the Acosta incident. At COTA, the qualifying incident with Bezzecchi and Marini cost him a clean lap and earned both riders grid penalties for Sunday. Hours later, same corner, same straight, same circuit. The sprint crash. Each incident is individually explainable. The slipstream caught him out. The rivals were on his line. The banking changed at the apex. But 2 penalties in 3 weekends is not a series of isolated moments anymore. It is a cumulative picture. And the championship standings will reflect that picture regardless of how each individual moment is explained. A world champion can afford 1 bad weekend. 2 penalties in 3 rounds is a rhythm that the title fight will not wait for him to correct. And the pattern matters more now because of what Sunday looks like. Márquez is 23 points behind Martin in the standings, who leads the championship after Bezzecchi crashed out under pressure from Martin. He is starting from 6th. He will serve a long lap penalty in the early stages of a 20-lap race on a circuit where overtaking opportunities are limited to a handful of braking zones. He has neck pain and back pain from Friday's 192 km/h crash. He has a compromised qualifying position from a lap Bezzecchi and Marini cost him. And he has already described Sunday as survival mode. I'll be in survival mode for the GP. What matters is getting to the finish line. Survival mode. At the circuit, he has won at 7 times. After a weekend that delivered a crash in FP1 at 192 km/h, a qualifying lap compromised by rivals on the racing line, a sprint crash that ended another rider's race, and a mandatory time penalty for Sunday, 4 separate directions of damage in 24 hours, 2 of which he caused himself. This is not how championship weekends are supposed to look at your signature circuit. The question is not whether Marquez is fast enough. Friday proved he is. The question is whether this pattern, high-risk braking, penalties accumulating, clean weekends becoming rare, is something that resolves itself as the season develops, or something that has already started to shape the championship in ways the points table will show long before it is acknowledged in the paddock. Because the crash at turn 12 was not just a mistake. It was the third thing to go wrong at that corner in the same 24 hours. Qualifying compromised on the back straight, sprint lost in the braking zone, and Sunday beginning with a mandatory slow loop that will cost him positions he cannot easily recover on a circuit with limited overtaking. 3 visits to the same part of the circuit, 3 different kinds of damage, same weekend, same Marquez, same corner. That is the detail that changes how you read the rest of 2026. Not one bad day, 1 circuit, 1 corner, 3 separate incidents, a pattern with a geography. Is the turn 12 crash a one-off miscalculation in the heat of a sprint battle, or part of a pattern that is costing Marquez the clean weekends a title challenge requires? And with 23 points already between him and the championship lead after just 3 rounds, can Sunday's Grand Prix still recover what Saturday cost him? Or has COTA already made its decision for the 3rd year running? Drop your answers in the comments. And if you enjoyed this breakdown, subscribe. There is a lot more of this coming. Because the circuit where Marquez has always been untouchable has, in 3 consecutive years, ended with him watching someone else take what should have been his. The crashes change. The corner stays the same, and the points keep going somewhere else. At some stage, a pattern stops being bad luck and starts being a problem. The question is whether we are already there.